Welcome to the Anxiety Doesn't Own Me podcast. My name is Emmanuel Isaacson. I'm an anxiety coach who helps people to overcome and heal their anxiety naturally.
This is something that happens to all people that struggle with anxiety. And whenever I was struggling with anxiety, I remember that I would try to avoid watching certain things, avoid the news, avoid certain people, avoid certain stories that I would hear. I would just stop listening to it. Like, let's say if someone was talking about something, I would just stop listening to it because I believed that situation would happen to me. And this is something whenever that I deal with people with anxiety, whenever I say something, I stop myself because I know what they're going to think. They're going to think right away that this is going to happen to them. Like, for example, I say that I know somebody who had a tumor, personally my brother and somebody else as well. They right away think that that's what's going to happen to them because that's what they heard. And this happens to us, and I was guilty of this as well. This happens to us so often that whenever we see something or hear something, we right away think, hey, that's going to happen to me. Oh my God, is that what's going to happen to me? Maybe that is what's happening to me. Like, for example, that whenever I used to Google things, that as all of us know, that is horrible to do. I mean, I used to Google like certain symptoms or like trying to understand what I was going through. I believed that every single thing that Google said, I believe that's what's happening to me. Especially the mental disorders that are out there. I believe that I had every single mental disorder out there, and I was terrified of it. I was just scared. I'm like, oh my God, this is me, and I believe that's what's going to happen to me. Or when I want to watch a movie, for example, I remember this movie Shutter Island, and what an amazing movie. And in the end, whenever he finds out that all what's going on with him is that he was insane and he went through something and they were trying to kill him and they weren't able to help him. I believe, and whenever I first watched it, I'm like, maybe that's the way I am right now. And it used to freak me out. I'm like, oh my God, maybe this is what's happening to me. Like, it would freak me out just thinking about that. But something that we need to tell ourselves is that just because we see a movie or we hear something in the news or we heard a story from somebody, something negatively, it doesn't mean that it's going to happen to us. It doesn't mean that. It's just our anxiety. Our anxiety wants to protect us from danger, and it's on alert. It's like telling you, okay, you know what? Hey, that is a dangerous situation. Maybe that's going to happen to us. Let's prepare ourselves. Let's take action so that we are not going to experience that. Or what if I'm insane over here? What if I went insane over here? Right? What's going to happen? Is like right away we're going to like worry about it. Like, oh my God, what if I am? Let's go to the doctor. Let's go check ourselves out. Let's go to the psychiatrist. Let's Google stuff just to make sure that we are okay. Or if we hear from somebody that has a medical issue, we right away think that's going to happen to us. So we right away go to the doctor. Or we may be too afraid. Of the results of what's going to happen, so we avoid that completely, and it just keeps us anxious, and we just increase our anxiety tremendously. But something that we need to do is always remind ourselves, it doesn't mean that just because it happened to somebody else, that means it's going to happen to me. It has no connection whatsoever, has no correlation whatsoever. Whatever happened to them is happening to them. Why do you think right away that it's going to happen to you? There's no evidence that it is. Think about it this way. In the past, whenever this happened, whenever you heard something bad happened, right? From somebody or from the news, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. Or you saw a TikTok video or, something on Instagram. It doesn't matter where it is. That thing that you thought about that was going to happen to you, did it actually happen to you in the end? No, it didn't. It didn't happen. And most of the time, 99% of the time, it won't happen. Yeah, but then the people say, but what about that 1%? Maybe it is. But why are you focusing on that 1%? That's the question. Why do you focus right away on that 1%? What has it helped you with? What is it going to help you with? It's not. It's just going to keep you in a state of anxiety the entire time. It makes no sense to focus on that 1%. Focus on the 99% of it's not going to happen. Because think about it in the past. Did it happen? No, it didn't happen. It didn't happen. So it doesn't mean it's going to happen right now. We work ourselves up so much that we believe that and we start panicking. And I remember I used to avoid people. I used to avoid stories. When I used to hear a story, I'm like, no, I don't want to listen. Or when I used to watch movies, I would not watch certain movies because I believe that's what's going to happen to me. I would only watch comedy. That's what I used to watch. Nothing else, because I believe that's what's going to happen to me. Or like watching the movie, like the end, the world ending. I used to freak out about that. I'm like, oh my God, what if that happens? What if that happens? So I would stop watching these movies, but I came to the point that I can't avoid these things. It's impossible to avoid these things. It's impossible to do that all the time. So what we could do is, again, talk to ourselves, coach ourselves, and tell ourselves like, hey, doesn't mean that we see it in a movie, or we see it on the news, or we see it on social media, or we heard a story. It doesn't mean whatsoever. It has no connection whatsoever to us. Especially when it comes to family members. My brother recently, about 3 years ago, they discovered that he had a tumor the size of a baseball in his head. And he was having a lot of symptoms. That he was experiencing a lot of symptoms, and he ended up in the ER because it was really severe what he was going through. And they found out that he had a tumor. Now, he's my brother, my older brother. I can think right away in my mind that, oh my God, is that going to happen to me because it happened to him? We come from the same parents. Maybe that can happen to me. Who says it can't? Just because it happened to him, it doesn't mean it's going to happen to me. There is no connection whatsoever that it's going to happen to me. Thankfully, he is cancer-free and he has no more tumor or anything like that. We thank God for that. Like, it was a miracle that this guy got out of it because the doctors gave him about 3 weeks to live, and now he's already a year and maybe close to 2 years already since the cancer went away. And he's much, much better. And I remember I told his wife, I'm like, listen to me. I know my brother. This guy's going to live longer than the doctors because he's been through different situations in the past, and he came out of it. And this is exactly what happened. So whenever that happened to my brother, I didn't right away think like, oh, that's going to happen to me. It didn't even cross my mind because, hey, this is what's happening to him. Unfortunately, this was happening to him. And it wasn't an easy thing to experience. Definitely not. Seeing him going through what he went through wasn't an easy thing to experience and to see. But it doesn't mean that's going to happen to me. It has no connection whatsoever. It's just that he was given in this, whatever he was going through or whatever he was eating or whatever he was taking, whatever he was experiencing, this is what he went through. And it has no connection whatsoever to me. Now, it doesn't mean, guys, that it's going to happen to you just because you have headaches or anything like that. No, he had much more severe symptoms than that. And that's why he ended up in the ER room. But just because you have headaches doesn't mean that you have a tumor. Now, listen, if you have it for a very long time, you want to go check yourself out. Check yourself out 100%. I'm not saying not to. But once you check yourself out and everything is fine, you don't want to repeat it over and over again, going to the doctor to make sure, like, hey, is everything fine? Do I have a tumor? Do I don't have a tumor? Like, we don't want to do that over and over again. We know that it's coming from our anxiety, and we want to deal with our anxiety. That's what we want to do. You understand? So what we could do over here, guys, is, again, remind ourselves like, hey, just because it happened to him, just because it happened to my family member, doesn't mean it's going to happen to me. It has no connection whatsoever. I actually have this one-on-one session with this woman that she told me years ago that her uncle overdosed and he passed away, unfortunately. And she thought, because he experienced anxiety and she also did, that she thought that's what's going to happen to her. And it used to freak her out a lot. But the truth is that there's no connection whatsoever. Just because it happened to her uncle doesn't mean it's going to happen to her, right? So we need to remind ourselves, and it's hard to do that. It's hard to do that, and it was hard for her to do that. And it took her a while, but thankfully she realized that it has no connection whatsoever. Even though that it hurts, it definitely hurts to lose somebody. It's not an easy thing, but at the end of the day, it has no connection. Doesn't mean because it happened to that person, that means it's going to happen to us. And we need to remind ourselves that whenever we catch ourselves like, oh my God, that's just going to happen to me? Like, no. That's what happened to them. And sometimes it's very unfortunate. It's very unfortunate that these things happen to other people. And it's not something that, like, okay, you know what, this happened to them, it happened to me. No, it's very unfortunate that it happens to them. And it's sad. I'm not saying that it isn't, like, exactly from like my brother. Like, it hurts me that whatever he went through, it wasn't an easy thing. But at the end of the day, I would need to remind myself I was going through anxiety. Now I don't even think about it, it didn't even cross my mind. But if I was going through anxiety, I would remind myself and tell myself, okay, just because it happened to him doesn't mean it's going to happen to me. You understand? So that's something we would remind myself, and that's going to help us in calming down our anxiety. If you are looking for a natural remedy in order to help you to deal with your anxiety and help you on your journey to overcome it, I created Calmly CBD, where it specifically helps you to calm down your anxiety and panic attacks. And as well, it doesn't make you feel drowsy. It doesn't make you feel sleepy. And it helps you to just feel calm so you can actually do things throughout the day like work, drive, go out, and do whatever you like in a more calmer state of mind, as well as not addictive or has any side effects or any withdrawals, which this way can actually help you to heal your anxiety and get you to the destination in overcoming your anxiety much quicker. You can click the link that's in the description. It would say Calmly CBD to place your order today. And then right now it's on sale for a limited time where you can buy one and get the second one free. If you did like this episode, please click the like button and leave a 5-star review. The reason why I ask is because this way we're able to reach more people, and the more people that we can actually reach, the more people that we can actually help. Because my mission in this world, my purpose is to help people to overcome and heal their anxiety naturally and show them that it's possible to overcome. Thank you guys. Take care, and I'll see you guys in the next episode.